konferencji Audio Art, która odbywa się przed koncertem. Franziska nie będzie pierwsza w dzisiejszym programie, ale to jest też taka dość specyficzna decyzja, żeby jej prezentację oddzielić od koncertu, więc w tym sensie część już Państwo macie tutaj. Jeżeli ktoś odwiedzał z Państwa stronę, bo ja czasami odwiedzam tą stronę, to powinno się zgadzać, czyli to, co jest na stronie, powinno być tym, co Państwo widzicie na ekranie. So I'm just trying to ask them to check whether the title of the presentation is the same like on our website. This is the last moment of update. Okay, but I think it's the same. So that's really amazing to have Franziska with us. That's in fact quite long story of our cooperation. Not only in Krakow, you remind me that we were together in Seoul.
And in Gdańsk.
In Gdańsk as well, yes.
Yeah,
And you are also coming as a solo performer, but also with other artists, which was also very beautiful. So we are coming back to the solo performance. There are kind of sentimental things also with logos, you know, those are the story which I like very much. And so in fact there will be also, just to make I try to speak shorter, to make it more clear, there will be also a very special introduction to your performance later. Also because in this case, when we are meeting with the instruments, you have the opportunity to see details which usually during the concert are not easily available. In many cases those things are hidden. So I think that the lecture will be not longer than 1 hour, and including your questions and including answers.
Here,
so
I found it.
That's my
yes,
plan.
I wanted to just
Teraz
put
tak
this
powolutku
one.
wychodzę i już mnie prawie nie widać. Franziska, you are alone now.
Yes, thank you
I
very much,
disappeared.
Marek, for the invitation. I'm really so happy to come back here to Krakow. As he said, there are so many memories and so many stages also in my own development of as a singer, improviser, sound artist, and so he always believed in me and he always invited me, so which is a great honor for me and always a great pleasure. Yeah, so I hope English is okay for everyone. I cannot Polish, even if it's such a beautiful language, and every time when I'm here I feel, oh, I should learn a little bit. It's such a nice sound for me also as a singer and vocalist, I'm basically a vocal artist, improviser, composer, and I work, as you see, with Sensor Live Electronics. And there are lots of questions and issues about it. I also wrote a book about it, so if somebody is really interested in going deeper into the subject, there is a lot of information inside there. Yeah, so what is the difference between me and other vocalists working with live electronics, and how did I came to the Sensor Live? So these are maybe some questions I'm going to issue on, also on the subject of what is voice and how we embody the machine. So to embody the electronic instrument with body awareness is for me a kind of main subject. I want to embody the machine and the sound processes in order also to create a kind of meaning, and also on a very old dream or vision of being able to touch sound, even if they are digital or virtual. I was brought up on a farm, and my first environment was nature, and I had my favorite places in the forest and at the river, and I loved to be there and just listen, and I had the feeling like I could feel the vibrations of the sounds. So how did it came? I found a video on
Festiwal rozpoczynamy od koncertu Franziski Baumann.
More than 25 years ago. Yeah, so that was my first way of doing solo performances, with lots of tape recorders, with mini discs, with a digital mixer. So you are all much younger than me, but in the 90s it started with the computers. So I still was working before with tape recorder, with 4-channel tape recorder, making overdubs and collage, etc. And then I brought everything on stage. And then it was, I felt like I want to perform without being tied to knobs and faders, so to become a performer on stage. And I then went to STIM Amsterdam. That unfortunately is not existing anymore. It's Studio for Electro-Instrumental Music, founded by Michel Weisfisch, and he had the vision of embody the electronic instruments as much as possible. And so he developed the first system with sensors. And then I was there an artist in residence, and they were developing for me the first sensor glove. It came with belts and power supplies and all equipment. And it was programmed in C++, so I had, luckily my partner is a programmer, so he could help me then with the programming. And then in concerts, I realized that the audience perceived my interacting as a singer with a sensor interface differently in terms of meaning. The interface itself assumed an expressive character with the cables running from the arm to the fingers. The nature of the movements and gesture interacting with the electrified terrain of my voice created a particular view on the body connected to the sound. And in short, it's kind of multi-layered field of perception emerged, and it invited for many interpretation. I also used it outside, in outside projects with installations on lakes or on glaciers. And then the question is it an instrument or is it a body extension? Depending on the character of movements I'm doing, depending on the character of movements and related sound processes during a performance, the sensor glove itself oscillates between instrument and body extension. As an object with its visual appearance, it may refer instrumental character or a medial extension of the body. When I use instrumental gestures, such as more like stroking or plucking or beating, the instrumental character comes to the fore. And when this imaginary of voices in space and my physicality meet in gestural communication, the sensor glove is rather an extension of the body. So here is a project I did for the Halle Festival, for the Händel Festival. It's called the Electrorenaissance. I just deconstructed an opera, Delirio Amoroso, and etc. So that was a specific context. That's why I built this costume, referencing the Baroque kind of thing. and playing with the opera itself. Another project I did on the highest tower in Bern. It was in December and it was snowing, and I had all the electronic equipment in this mountain cabin, and I came out just to perform. Sorry, no, it's too fast. So no, come on. Here. And I had an 8-channel system around me, and here you see the movements were more kind of just body extension, not so instrumental. So here again, Steim, that was Michel Weisfisch, the founder. Unfortunately, he died very early, already, I don't know, 10 years ago or even more. Then Frank Balde, he did the programming, and Jürgen Brinkmann did the electronic design, and Daniel Schoner was another coach or mentor for artists' residencies. Then 2016, I started to collaborate in Bern with an electronic designer. So since with the years the possible amount of processed data could be realized on smaller and smaller chips, it was possible to realize the former Sensor Lab application on one small Arduino chip. And so in 2016, the live electronic equipment has been completely new built from the bottom by Bern-based electro-engineer Andreas Litmanovic and Arduino programmer Stefan Rote. I then also started to use Sensor Lab's Steim's later program Junction, which is a mapping software. And the mapping software, with that I can assign gestures to sound process or to clips or sounds or whatever. And this is in fact the most powerful part of the interaction between sensors and what it happens, because there we compose the interaction itself. So whether it's a kind of, I assign, for example, some pitches. So a very simple assignment between, we will come later to the sensor themselves, ultrasound, sender and receiver, just defining the distance in between. So I become much more independent in all this composing interaction, which was great, because sometimes I wake up in the morning and then I have an idea and think, oh, now I want to assign this movement with this process and so on. And then I can do it myself. I do not have to ask someone else to do it for me. So this is really fantastic. But unfortunately, there's another problem. With all this progressing digital stuff, the Steim is not working anymore with these sensor applications. The program runs only on 32 bits. So this computer is a very old computer with High Sierra, because it runs still the 32 bits. And with the new computer, the program is not running anymore. So I always say, you know, if you are a cellist and if you would say, now you cannot use this instrument anymore, now you have to use cello 3.7 and start with a new instrument. So, because you get so used to these digital applications and you embody them, and then you have to find new solutions, which is...
We are too small group, you know, the group is too small to
yes.
discuss about. That's why.
Yeah, we are not on the market.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm about to think about new applications. Maybe next time when I come, I have new stuff. Yeah, and as you see now, there are no bells, no nothing. It's much smaller, and this is also a big advantage to use the equipment, for example, independently, also in kind of music theatrical context. So I can be an acoustic singer, I can put on the glove, and I can quickly change between two different perspectives or two different ways of making music. And then I also started, I was at ECST in Zurich, and they have this fantastic research of ambisonic. So, and they made applications for me, and then I could assign the gesture to spatialization. So, because all the parameters in the ambisonic application were accessible with MIDI numbers. Because what I do here is analog to MIDI. The sensors are analog, they're just listening. And then this is the protocol goes into the MIDI sends MIDI data at the end, and MIDI data all programs can read. But this is already 6-7 years ago, so nowadays there are so many plugins for ambisonic, for surround, for spatialization, so you do not need even ambisonic anymore. I work with Ableton Live, and you can just use other plugins to have the same result. So, to make a resume, kind of what is this embodied music for me? It's like, okay, I'm a singer, I can sing, I have a body. It's the first person, physical and vocal presence, and then there's this the digital voices, the processed voices that come from the speakers. Even if I use a microphone, I kind of disembody my voice. And then there are all these characters for gesture communication and this metaphorical interaction in between. So it's just a kind of trialogue, like first person, and then they, like third person, and second person, I, you. So this, how do I deal with these voices out there? Yeah, what is voice? Among musical instruments, the voice is a special case. It constitutes our most embodied instrument without an external interface. While musical instruments are used as a mediated extension of the body. As a singer, I am an interface, and when I'm playing with sensors interface, I have an interface. And a significant difference between vocal and instrumental materiality is that the voice connects the person and the body with emotion, meaning, and communication. The sound creation of a may remind you of moaning. Oh, I'm tired. Oh, I have enough. Oh, I don't want to hear anymore anything. But if I start to work with that sound, yeah, so if I start to musicalize this initial thing, rhythmicize or change pitch or adjust volume, it becomes more music. It goes a little bit away from the literal meaning of, oh, I'm tired or I don't want anything. But as a vocalist, the ones who were yesterday at a vocal performance with Karl Ludwig Hübsch, they could also perceive this. You want to understand he's a person, what is he doing? It's an expression, it has a theatrical ambitus. But then also he starts to rhythmicize, to repeat things, to work with the material itself, and it becomes an instrument, and it interacts then in another way also with the electronic partner, or if I play with a drummer or with a bass player, then yeah, I become more instrumental. Yeah, the many ways we hear voices are based on trained human communication processes, deep emotionality, and cultural context. Familiar vocal sounds such as grunts, squeaks, howls, shouts, etc. offer endless colors that I perceive and treat as musical moments. People are often not used to listening to vocal utterances as musical components. The listener cannot merely brush aside what I call psychological listening, which is linked to a culturally conditioned, unconscious process. Psychological listening refers to the human expression, the emotionality and images associated with the vocal sound. It's difficult to listen to human expressions as pure sonic qualities themselves. A sung sound can thus be perceived as sighing, moaning, etc. So, how can we solve this issue, or how can we deal with this issue? There's a wonderful theorist, Dennis Smalley, and he's original from New Zealand, but he's now, I think, in America or in England. And he developed a model of spectramorphology. Wonderful word, spectramorphology, where he explains the swap from the extrinsic to intrinsic listening. For example, when someone is crying out loudly, "Ah!" we may think of danger and not of a specific spectramorphological vocal sound. So maybe we can try this. Can we just cry all together very loudly? Just shout. Ah! Super. Can you now shout very high? Ah! Very low. Oh! Yes. Can you add an E? Very low. E. Yes. Can you cry very high with a O? Oh! Yeah. Can you stretch it? Oh! Change pitch. Oh! One more time. Oh! So, you see. Nice choir, yeah? So it's a swap between crying to become more musical with stuff, yeah. Yes. So there is, yeah, the first step is the extrinsic is, yeah, someone cries out. A second which says, it sounds like someone crying out. And a third which says, it sounds as if someone is performing like crying out. That's what we did in kind, yeah? So as a composer, I'm interested in a wider dimensions or in wider dimensions of listening to vocal human expressions. I'm interested in a deeper listening to the sonic qualities of vocal sounds. To this effect, I would like to look at the voice as an instrument that requires a distance to enable a desubjectivation, so to take away the personal stuff, and to free its sound from the human in the voice to allow wider dimensions of listening. It allows to switch freely between the semantic and the material aspect of the voice, between the referential and the sonic, the psychological and the musical. So some from you may know Pierre Schaeffer. He developed another interesting model of that describes the listening process. He described or identified 4 modes. The first mode is information gathering, which focuses on the message a sound carries. If I freely elaborate Schaeffer's first mode and apply to our example of the cry, we are interested in who is crying and why. Maybe our neighbor is coming down the stairs and he or she is screaming. We are wondering about possible motives behind the cry. Schaeffer's second mode emphasizes passive reception. We may hear somebody crying on the radio or far away in the street. While mode 2 concentrates on our reaction to the sound of the cry, mode 1 focuses on the person of my attention. Mode 3 and 4 are concerned with listening for musical characteristics. Mode 3 represents conscious listening to specific aspects of sound, while disregarding any meaning that the sound might carry. So just to the frequencies to see. This mode 3 broadly coincides with Smalley's spectramorphological listening. So if we would just record it and make a spectra analysis and just see what kind of sounds are sounding. So perception is focused on various spectromorphological aspects that are considered attractive, exciting, or meaningful. And in fact, we are just swapping all the time between mode 2 and 3. So if you see a vocal performer, you perceive his theatricality or his emotions, and then he starts to make, or she starts to make music, and so it's going forward and backward between those modes. Yeah, this is not so maybe our thing, that's more my scoring. So for that reason, I also use extended techniques like circular singing. You also can try, you can sing when you inhale and exhale on a, just take a pitch and just yeah, so you can sing endless. Huh? Like with the violin who does the bow up or downwards. Yeah, we can of course then we can change vowel again and musicalize this idea in variations. Diphonic flutter, that's a kind of specific technique I've been using for a long time, because when my son was born, we were living close to a train station, and he was always awake in the night, and I had to carry him around. And at that time, more than 30 years ago, there were this, how you say, cargo trains that were just moving around in the night, and they made these wonderful sounds on the tracks. And I thought, I had the baby, okay, I have to find a way to imitate this sound and make song out of this. So this sounds kind of etc. So while imitating what you hear, you also can discover new ways of how you can use your voice. Ula Creek, most of you know it. When you get up in the morning early and your voice is not working really, then it's then you can do this. You can do it. It's just no voice. Yeah, it's just I'm not awake yet. Hululation, it's a kind of classical, from already Caddy Barbarian did it. Who knows Caddy Barbarian? Yeah, cool. Caddy Barbarian, yeah. She was the experimental pendant from Maria Callas. So she was living in the same time, and her partner, her husband was Luciano Berio, so he was composing a lot for her, and so he used her specifics, and she was always, she made this hululation. So the ones who know Berio sequencer number 3, this is a sound that comes a lot. You also can try, it's like laughing, we go on ooh. Yeah. You also can talk like that. Grumbling, yeah, it's a little bit Louis Armstrong. You learn it from the children when they start to play with their little cars. So maybe also the Tibetan Mongolian singers first just were playing with their little cars, and then yeah. So then, yodeling, of course. Me as a Swiss woman, I was brought up in the mountainside, and yeah, there are this. So this kind of 1-5 thing, yeah. But you can yodel in any way. Yes? It's just with the glottis. Or the other way around. You can do that also, yeah. So we just yeah. Yeah, you can do it. Multiphonics. It's just chaotic frequencies. Beautiful sound. Yeah, yeah. We have a lot of other things like we call it also false chords. False chords are just skins that we have with the I don't know the word in English. They just give liquid, and then for our vocal cords, so to keep our vocal cords humid. And then if we just try to let them vibrate as well, we get all sorts of crazy sounds. Yeah, so subtones, yeah, it's a kind of like the same. Your overtone, yeah, everybody knows overtone, yeah, this harmonic singing like. So we very quick are also in ethnic contexts with that, because it creates this harmonic scala. We also have with the Alphorn, or yeah, with every sounding, whether it's a string or whether it's a wind, wie sagt man? Schwingung, a wind vibration that just if you have. You make small numbers of splitting, then you get this natural overtone. Yeah, gibberish. It's like, okay, I can say to my cat, "You stupid little cat, you dumb little cat, you little cat, you little cat, you stupid little cat." She will be very amazed when I tell her that. She doesn't understand, she just gets the information. So we can just, of course, also without words, just so you can just invent kind of fantasy syllabs, and so yeah, so you can try it with your cat. Tongue bubble. Yeah, I cannot do it with the glove. Kids love this, yeah. Yeah, and we can do lots of things with just with plosives, like so with mouth or tongue, like yeah. So it's endless, and it's fun to do it in groups also. So I teach also in Bern and at the music academy, and I have groups also where we explore this funny stuff.
Maybe snoring.
Snoring, yeah. Yeah. And then it's also the question how you go to the music, huh? So we think of a pig, yeah? And then, okay, what are we doing with this sound, huh? It's difficult to make a rhythmical thing, yeah. Yeah, then it's a question of how to write down those things. So, yeah, I like to have mixtures between graphics and specific notation. Also to notate helps if you are a musician and you notate your experimental stuff, you become more precise because then you think, okay, on which pitch can I do this? Can I do it higher? Can I do it lower? Can I do it faster? Can I do it this and this way? And so it starts a reflective way of reflect on your own material. Yeah, maybe for example the birds motif is a combination. I was in New Zealand and then there was this funny bird called Tui. So he also sings with you. Maybe in Poland you also have birds in the forest that you can start to sing with, yeah? Imitate, yeah. And then they answer, they like it, yeah? So they have really funny things, and yeah, I experienced this in the forest, so it was fun to play with them. Yeah, the other stuff we already did. Yes. Yeah, so as I told, the question of the materiality of a vocal event generates a shift of the listening focus from the what to the how. So what is it, and how I play with it. So, do we still have some time? Yes. Yeah, the mediated voice. Is it a from me? Is it phantoms of bodiless voices, or are there clones of myself? So how do I think about it? It depends on what I'm playing and how what I exactly do. So. Between singing and using also other ways of vocal expressions. Yeah, vocal identities and persona references. So there's another thing that we have the body domain, we have the identity domain and the affect domain. So yeah, so the articulation is the size, the volume, the physical aspects of the body. The identity is more gender, age, accent, affect, language. The affect domain we already were talking about, yeah, and also the linguistic domain. So we have lots of references when we think about or these four, I mostly work with those four references. So depending on the electronic modification, for example, the corporeality of the digitalized voices can morph into a pure acousmatic sound, which no longer has any reference to the human. So it's a high level of abstraction, of course, that I deal here with these voices. It's a kind of overview of what we were also talking a little bit. So the electrified space of vocal expression draws attention to the sonic developments fed directly from the vocal source. As a radical vocality, it encompasses the plurality of matter and utterance, body and grain, sounds and silences and noises that might constitute the production of an audience to the voice. So the sonic exploration of the voice using digital processing opens up abundant vocal sound fields. So yeah, I don't want to tell everything, but with the digital realm, we even have access to a more radical vocality. So that where we just listen to more this kind of abstract sounds. Yeah. So maybe this could be another interesting chapter. So when we use an interface to process vocal sounds with gesture and expanded field of meaning, it opens up this potential to reveal this multitude of meaning. As I told you, it's already at the beginning, it's sculpting vocal sounds with gestures, but composing the mapping is very central. And what we get is a kind of new organology, depending, of course, of the system. So we can just kind of define new meanings. So if I play, like I told you, I show you before, for example, with pitches and distance, we create a new organology between body and the sound and gesture. And this is a great freedom, because the interface, this in-between, is a black box. We have to define the interactions and to compose the interactions. And what it means to practice, if I want to perform, I have to practice. I have to practice what I compose, the composed interactions. I have to try them out, see what works, what is not working, what I want to change, then to reprogram and to go again. And then it gives this kind of circle. Definition of gesture-sound interaction, exploring movements, developing a felt sense, correction of gesture-sound interaction, and practice the fine-tuning. Because the big difference between traditional instruments is we have, as there is no movement energy involved into this practice, as if with all other sound we do, or with all the instruments, and there is no feedback, no haptic feedback. So if you play the clarinet or if you play the flute, the lips give you immediately a feedback for vibration, and you can adjust. The same with the fingers on the piano keys. So fingertips and lips are our most sensitive parts in the body, and that's why the instruments are connected to lips and fingers, because we can adjust this. So here it's another practice, because I do not have a haptic feedback here. Yeah? Then how do I get an embodied flow of music making? How do I get in this moment that I can dance with the music, that I'm free, etc.? There are a number of cool sensor mappings that I could do. There are a lot of inspirations with technical possibilities. It needs time to learn and do an exciting embodiment with this practice. If I have too many cool stuff to play with, I cannot play anymore, because I have a brain overload, a mental overload. So I need to freeze the system or what I practice for some time to be able to play with it. Because otherwise I'm just thinking and I cannot play. Then another question is of how the meaning is created. So I defined kind of co-players that create meaning, and you have in the center the composed mapping and the embodied voice and the mediated voice, and around there are this kind of co-players. I will just talk about quickly in detail. So first is the design of the instrument itself, so how it looks like. It has cable, it has this. I have also a ball. So this creates expectations. Oh, she has something electric on her arm. That must sound somehow, yeah? So it creates an expectation. It's like a prop or an object. Then we have the sensors themselves, and each sensor has an own range of how how the sensor listens to our physical environment, whether it's a bender. So I have in my finger, I have 4 benders inside of the glove. So I can, for example, just create metaphoric movements of throwing something away, or drive along, or restlessly zap around. And I can control quite precisely with the bend sensors. So they give quite precise signal outside. Then we have the gyroscope that you know already from your mobile phone. So we have the horizontal axis, we have the vertical axis, and we have the roll function. So, and this gives lots of things to kind of dance or move freely around. Then we have the accelerometer that just needs acceleration. So I can turn on something or turn off something. I have the ultrasonic sensor that works more with distance. Then I also have a pedal here with knobs. And yeah, it's like kind of scanning. Sometimes I really have to find the button, and yeah. And then I have lots of knobs here in the finger, and they allow me to turn on and off the sensor's meaning, because otherwise I have too many information. So I need to turn on and off. That it could also work with a camera, that I do not. So then I have the software itself. So whether you play with Max, MSP, or with Ableton, or with Logic, or with Super Collider, or any program, each program has its own logic, and you have also to deal with that. Then mapping modes, very simply, I can adjust one gesture to one parameter. I can adjust one gesture to several parameters, or I can adjust several gestures to the same parameter, or then to adjust a lot of gestures to a lot of parameters that I cannot control anymore, because it's just no haptic feedback. Then it's more like dancing. We can, yeah, so I can go on. There's the gestural surrogacy and symbolic interaction. So what kind of concepts do we can have with interfaces, whether it's like draw from acoustic instruments. If I, for example, just use striking, just to give another example. No, not this. Probably it's not working. No, it's not working now. Or embody symbolic action, or the metaphorical gestures, or just sculpt vocal sounds in space. So it gives a choreographic game. So we are back here, what we already saw. Then it's maybe to end up, what is the outlook now? What will be, what can we do? What could be next inventions? Or is the AI, for example, creating radical technological revolution? What could we do with artificial intelligence, for example? And how could we create new body images with sound and sound process and body gestures? So maybe I have talked so much, so now maybe there are some questions or some remarks.
I have questions, but I don't want to be first one.
Yes, but you could, I think.
Okay, can I? Well, because it would be not really specially connected with the subject, but with the technology you used long ago. And I just want to remind, I don't know whether anybody was on your first concert, I was there. And
you saw the excerpt at the beginning? Maybe you were not here at the very beginning.
Maybe.
I show you here. No, not here, sorry. Here.
Okay, but did you mention, yes, Goethe Institute, yes. Well, that was Goethe Institute and we are...
Zaczynamy od Baumann.
Big one. But perhaps you didn't explain them what software you've been using.
Then,
Yes.
no software, no computer. It was just,
Okay, so the second
there were mini disc and tape recorders and digital mixer. Yeah.
I don't trust my brain, so I'm forgetting many things. But then perhaps during the second one, with the space movement and controlling the space movement, because I remember till now that you've been using logic
Yes,
for interactive
Yes.
process, which was quite surprise for me in this time.
yes, because Logic you could reorganize the environment. So it was a lot of work to reorganize everything that the MIDI goes into all the parameters I wanted to.
And that was already the time that the interaction was already programmed in Marx or
Yeah.
Super Collider or something like that, and then those DAW programs were rather to the multi-track composing, and
Yeah.
using it for interactive purposes was really special.
Yes.
That's why I just. Oh, that's yes. I forgot about this.
Yes.
I should find it because I'm restoring the very old.
Yeah.
festivals as well.
Yeah, for me, as I'm a musician, I'm a singer, I need time to practice also my voice. So, yeah, to learn Max MSP or to program with C++ also needs just a lot of time.
Did you
It's
recognize the space? No?
Yes, Stucki, Punki, something, yeah? This one.
No, this is Goethe Institute.
Ah, that's Goethe Institute.
This is Goethe Institute, currently Potocki, and the bookstore. Where
Ah.
you open
Yeah, and then
you can
second
find
concert was
those
David
artists.
Moss. Yeah,
Yes,
I
that
remember.
was the second was in Bunkerstück. No, that's really amazing to check this all the time. No, I switch to Polish. Dlaczego mówię o jakichś tam podróżach sentymentalnych, bo akurat te instalacje, które podróżujemy, to są miejsca, w których myśmy zaczynali festiwal. Wtedy cały czas gdzieś wracamy do takich właśnie niezwykłych momentów. There are very special moments to come back.
Yeah, also for me.
Do you record yourself during
The process of
process of composing and also practice?
yes, sometimes I did it a lot earlier time. So when I was beginning, so to get an idea of what, yeah, also about form or how long can I do something and when is it becoming boring or do I change too quickly? So that was at the beginning a challenge because if you improvise yourself, you lose a little bit the connection of how long people or the audience needs. But then, yeah, with the time I just got freer with that. And now I like if somebody is listening to me and just give me some feedback. It's even nicer. But good question, yeah.
Speaking of feedback, you talked about the feedback on fingertips and lips. Did you try to incorporate something like that in this laugh interface?
No, I know that it exists already, the technology for haptic feedback. So I never tried, I must admit. I know that. Have you tried it once? No?
But, do you think it will be necessary or?
For me, not with what I'm doing now. If I would work with haptic feedback, I would probably develop a new concept of playing or new interaction or new stuff, yeah. So this composed interaction is really made for this instrument. Yeah, yeah, cool.
So what finally do you use at the moment in the glove? Like what's there inside at the moment?
Yes, as I told you, I have 4 benders. So the benders, this one, I show you again. They are hidden, you don't see them. Where is my stuff here? If I go too quick, no. Where are the sensors? Here. Yeah, oops. Yeah, on the left side, you see these little sticks. They are in here, 4. And the gyroscope is on top here, so that measures my movement like this or like this or like this. So you will see in the concert then all these movements, yeah. And then the accelerometer is, it measures the speed. Yeah. Then the ultrasonic sensor measures distance. So I have a receiver and a sender. And then it just, yeah, it's fantastic what they do with these sensors, yeah. So as a physicist, it's, well, what is in there, yeah? What exactly? And so it measures just the distance in between. And I can assign here, 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 here. I can just assign whatever I want in the distance. And important also the pedal. It's very traditional, but sometimes you need it because of the logic of the program itself. So you need to change a track or to change something. Buttons, you see a lot of buttons. Yeah, the camera I don't use, yeah. And the same is here in. I have a ball. It's also developed by the Bernese electronic designer. It has completely the same setting inside, except the bend sensors. And it has got the little less knobs, less buttons. Yeah.
You said earlier that when you play, you don't have any haptic feedback. Like you cannot sense it otherwise than with your ears. Have you tried experimenting with some vibrating motors or some ultrasound generators that can vibrate your skin?
Yeah, not yet. Not yet. It was like his question. If
sorry,
no, it's a very important question, and yeah, I could, but then I have to design a new instrument.
Yeah, and work with that.
And start to work with that, exactly, yeah. Because always, first it's a lot of work to build all the sensors, and then that it works, and then to start to play with it.
There is a sound which the device like this produce. They are hearable.
But you don't want that in a concert.
Yeah, but I heard there are some ultrasound arrays that can...
Yes.
They can
You're right, you're completely right, the technology is there. Yeah, but I have no experience with it. Maybe it just makes something on your skin, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, now it's 20 to 6, so if there's a last question, otherwise I think we need a break before at 6 o'clock the concert starts. But also, if somebody is very interested in the subject, there's a book I wrote, so yeah.
And you perform at 7?
I perform at 7. I think, Marek? I perform at 7, no? Around.
Maybe earlier.
To be clear, because usually we are opening a block of performances with some natural breaks between, and that's it.
Yeah, but I think around
to
7.
another place, then we start exactly in time. But when we are staying here, we are opening the evening at 6, and that's it. So we don't assign a special. But yes, Franziska, around 7.
Good.
That's the most precise answer.
Super. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much.